Okay. Super excited to do this with you. So, Jenny, when
Yes.
we talk about 100K, okay, essentially it's just a number. It's $1, $10, $100, $1,000, $10,000, and then there's 100K, and then there is a million, and then there's more, there's 10 million. Today we're tapping into the frequency of 100,000, essentially 100,000, that frequency, what it means to you. Not essentially what it means to the world, what it means in the 3D reality of the world, but what does it mean to Jenny? Because Jenny is creating her reality. What you believe about the 100K is what is being represented in your outer world, right? So
Mhm.
if we say today that the intention for the session is obviously to help you break through this so you can be on the frequency of it and then experience it more and more in your reality. What does 100K represent for you? What does it feel like? What is the significance, or what are the first few words that come to your mind as I say 100K in your reality?
Freedom is really the first word that comes in mind, because there's so many things that I have launched into the universe as desires. And I know I've been doing this for quite some time, but I believe that in the past, due to my previous belief systems and limitations, I viewed $100,000 as something that I used to have because, quite frankly, when I left the world of healthcare, and I think I may have said this to you before, I used to be a nurse. I was a nurse for 30 years. And my last position was the position that burned me out. And that was also the position that I was making the most money ever in my nursing career. And I was making over $100,000 a year in that position.
Mm-hmm.
I think that perhaps maybe I still have some ties or cords attached to that negative, toxic environment. And the reason why I left, because of the burnout, because of the stress, I was literally physically ready to have a nervous breakdown because of that job. But I said, at that point in my life, I needed to do something different. I wanted to reinvent myself. That's when I got into real estate. Um, and I've been in real estate for about 8 years now, but I've
Mm-hmm.
never been able to attain the money that I left when I left the healthcare world.
Mm. Okay. Okay. There's a lot in there just with what you shared and the connection of 100K with it coming through years of work, etc., and all the baggage that was attached to that 100K. Do you see that already?
Yes.
Like we're unpacking some stuff here today because ultimately what we want to do is whatever's been going in your head, in your psyche, in your subconscious, all the points of connection and reference to 100K, we want to be able to see them, unpack them, and also what you are from your past projecting onto the 100K in your future. Because till you keep projecting, that's what you're going to get, right? So we've got to make sure that the filter, the projection is that I get to have it in a day, in a month, in 6 months. We're going to change that and the way it's going to come to you, right? So this is really incredible what you shared with me. So let's say now we park that aside for a moment. That was obviously your past life, right? So we are very aware of it that this was your past experience. It was an energy wave, a past timeline that you've already navigated, and it's given you an experience of 100K. But that 100K came through the experience of you being a nurse, you putting in some hard hours and work and energy, and it coming through a period of 12 months and with a lot of effort, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yes.
So knowing that it was a past timeline, also knowing that you get to create, like you have already proven to yourself that you can manifest anything because you left that and you went on to become property agent, a real estate agent, right? So you've created that. You can create many timelines. You can create many identities. You've also done identity shift program with me, so you know, and you continue to inspire your own self and move through anything and go like, no, no, I can create more and more and more. I can create any identity. So knowing that you can create anything and you already have, and knowing that you are now going on to a new timeline, which means that the 100K essentially, which is just an amount, is also a frequency. It's an experience. Like the 100K was first experienced through being a nurse and through a lot of energy that was put in the work. You experience 100K like that. Now, the 100K is still the same frequency, it's still an amount. We're unpacking all potential ways that exist in the infinite field of potential, in the quantum field or in the infinite field, where how can you now create a new experience for yourself with the same 100K? Because 100K is just a frequency, it's a number, right? And then you go on to obviously create more and more in different ways. So my question to you is, this 100K that you've experienced first in your past life, in your previous timelines, in a month of 12 months, what do you reckon are the potential? Now we're looking in the future, which you'll still use your past to project, okay? So be aware of it, because most human beings, we use our past to assess our future. This is human nature. But you also have an opportunity from now on to not be a storage cabinet. We all have that. Essentially, we're just consciousness, but we can't help ourselves. But today, knowing that you have an opportunity of not being a storage cabinet and not projecting your past, and if you just cut cords with the past Jenny, who was a nurse and who made 100K with such effort, showing up for other beings, yes, but such effort. If today I asked you, what potentially do you feel are the possible time frames which can get you 100K, such as, do you believe in your head, is there a possibility for you to have 100K not in 12 months, but in 6 months? Do you believe, is there a potential or a possibility of 100K in 3 months, in 1 month, in a day? I want you to now speak about what you believe currently in your head is a potential and a possibility for you.
So without thinking about it too much, I want to say that I believe that anything is possible. I believe that, as you know, I've been going through this journey, coming into this awakening, which has probably been around 3 years now. I know that I have definitely evolved in my mindset and have been able to expand my belief that, the constructs that we normally live in within our society are so limiting, and that me listening to a lot of your teachings and a lot of information from Dr. Joe Dispenza and other individuals, in that same vein, I really know that my consciousness is infinite.
Yes. Yes.
I still feel like, and what I say sometimes too, I have some close friends that I, confide in and share this information with, is that I still have a pinky toe that is stuck in my old reality. And I can't figure out how to get that pinky toe out to join the rest of my body and my mind and my conscience.
I love
That's
that.
how I see it. And
Yes.
it's like, come on, catch up with the rest of me, because there's something that I think is holding me back. And I've contemplated it. Going back to that 100K and my previous life and how I made that money, there is one big contrast that I recognized, that despite, I know that I was burned out of that system and I needed something new. I needed to grow. My spirit needed to grow. My mind needed to grow. I had the comfort of a consistent paycheck. So I was in that type of system where even though it was very stressful, I knew that I was making money every 2 weeks. I knew that there was going to be a check um, deposited into my bank account every
So
two
we're
weeks.
talking about certainty. You like the certainty of it, while the
Yes,
certainty came with, so it was the painful certainty over the magical unknown, magical uncertainty, you see?
yes, yep.
Hmm.
And I can definitely see that contrast because now in my profession, I am a 100% commission employee, not employee, but I'm essentially a independent contractor. I work with a real estate brokerage, but I don't make any money until I close a deal.
All right.
Um,
So that's a good thing to know. So that also plays depending on how you channel that uncertainty, because uncertainty equals to unknown. So there's possible infinite grounds of you having, you know, 100K day or 200K day or whatever. But let's work with that uncertainty for a moment. Let's park that aside because that in itself is going to be the vehicle, which I'll get to in a moment. So to come back to my question, I'm going to ask you a series of questions so we can unpack your psyche, break through what is blocking you currently from those 100K. So what would be the potential time frames, as I asked you, what do you believe it's possible? Like, uh, give me a time frame in your head. What does it feel like? I can have the 100K in 6 months, 12 months, 3 months, 1 month, one day. Come up with what you believe is the time frame.
I feel like, and again, I have this struggle within me where I know that I can collapse the timelines. I know that I can, have this money right now or tomorrow. Like somebody could ring my doorbell and
Yeah,
say, "Hey, you won $100,000." I want to believe that the money can come from anywhere at any time.
yeah. So can we
That is
say that you are
definitely
okay with 100K day? So we are not
yes,
saying, so yes, exactly. So we are, that's what we're at, 100K day, because you've done the work, right? You've been in that container ship where we've been collapsing
yes,
logic and stuff. And so we when we break through this, some of my clients would go like, no, I want 100K a year. You know, I work with many people, and I was one of these people 3 years back when I started my online business. I want to be a 6-figure entrepreneur. So it's really important where you're at, because initially I believed, or the people I work with, that some people believe it's going to be 12 months, some people believe it's going to be longer, some people believe, no, I'm going to have 600K in 6 months, and I believe that. Some people believe I can just have a, you know, 100K in 3 months. Some people believe I can have a 100K client in one day, right? So it's about what you believe currently, because we're breaking through your 100K. So fine, we are okay with the fact that we can have a 100K day. That's where you're at.
yes. I'm totally okay with that fact.
Yeah. And this is where we assess, like, this is our conscious thought. Is our subconscious, is our psyche on board with it? Are we congruent? We're going to get to that. Now, my second question to you is, what do you believe in your reality are the vehicles? Vehicles are basically your gateways, they're portals through which the money has to come. Money's energy, but they're mostly like opportunities, right? So, what are your vehicles currently that are going to allow that 100K in your reality? And to give you an example, like when you were a nurse, okay? So, a nurse is roughly, say, $30 an hour, $35 an hour, roughly. Okay, I may be wrong with that. I'm just doing a little bit of math here. And at that, $35 an hour, you could make $100. A nurse can make $100, 100K, sorry, in 12 months time. Okay, a
Hmm.
period of 12 months. That's the math. The vehicle that a nurse is using is of the work that she's doing, which means that the vehicle can only allow me 100K in a period of 12 months. My vehicle, which is paying me $35, cannot allow me to have a 100K day. So my vehicle, which is my work, does not allow me if I'm choosing a vehicle of $35 per hour, right? So
Hmm.
that was to give you a context of what a vehicle is. So now in your reality, what do you believe is your vehicle that can get you 100K. Do you have a vehicle or do you want to create new vehicles? Let's talk about that.
So I would like to create new vehicles. I love the concept of multiple streams of income. I love, knowing that money can come from anywhere. It doesn't have to just come from a job. Um, you know, it, there was a period of time right after I sold my house and I moved into my new place. Um, I was really in a money manifestation flow, and I received almost $6,000 unexpectedly from three different sources within almost 2.5 weeks. So less than 3 weeks, I got these checks in the mail that just kept coming. Two of them were refund checks. Two of them were money supplementations for because of what happened with the pandemic. The kids, the
Yeah.
school systems received money from the government. So I
And do you
got,
not find that funny, Jenny? Just I'm gonna jump in here and interrupt you. Like, do you not find this funny? Who gets checks these days? Like, we live in an era because whenever I've run the money program, 5 figures in 21 days, I've spoken about this, and people have spoken about this. Because we channel that money can come from anywhere. Like, if we don't put logic to it, any vehicle, right? And so people
Mhm.
will say, I've got this random check in the mail, like you're saying. And I laugh about it because I'm like, who gets checks these days and people still get it, right? We live
Right.
in an
I
era
know
where there's no,
checks are such a, almost an extinct thing. Nobody really talks about checks anymore, but they were
yeah,
from, real estate transactions and, settling on my house. I got extra money back that I wasn't expecting from paid taxes. So, it was
it just
just
found
a
a way
really
to you,
incredible
right?
thing. Yeah,
It found a
they
way
found
to
their
you.
way to me.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so, I always, think to myself, when these things start to happen, it creates a momentum, it creates a feeling, and um, I try to hold on to that feeling and hold that space for more to come in that way.
Yeah.
But then,
So looking at that, I'm going to circle back to the vehicle
yep.
because sometimes we can get lost in all our beautiful thoughts, and I do
Oh,
want to
sure.
stick to the
Yep.
vehicles because we're going to break through something here. So, what do
Yes.
you believe? As much as you're very open to infinite vehicles, because yes, we just get to, it gets to be this way because you get to create your reality. What are the current vehicles that you do believe that you have that will allow you that 100K day?
Sorry about that. My dryer is about ready to stop and it's buzzing, telling me that it's ready to
Oh,
stop if
that's
you can hear it.
all right.
Yep.
It's not doing anything for me. I can't even hear it.
Oh,
But
great. Okay. Yeah, it's very loud on my side.
yeah. So we're looking at
So
100K day now. So our time frame's 100K day. We've chosen
mhm,
that instead of being a 6 month period or 3 month period. We're going like, you're okay with 100K day. And so now you're unpacking yourself, your mind to what are the possible vehicles I currently have. And then we'll go on to figure out what you want to create.
okay. So currently, as far as 100K coming in, it would have to be completely illogical because looking around me and seeing what the resources I have and the connections that I have available to me, I don't see any of those things producing that type of money in one day. Um, but I have such a grand vision of what my legacy, um, vocation, business is going to be, that I know that that is possible, perhaps not right now, but it's definitely going to be possible once I get into that space. And what I'm speaking of is my dream is to open a spirituality retreat.
Mm,
And so I want to have, an operation, an organization where I can welcome all of, my clients into this space and be able to provide, the services that I know I'm capable of from a spiritual standpoint, because you know that I'm a medium. Also, you know, I'm tapping into energetic healing and have also had some openings and awarenesses that I may have psychic tendencies as well, abilities.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so as I've embraced this entire community of holistic living and experiences, um, I just I know that type of income is going to be possible. It's just a matter of, I guess, aligning with that and bringing those resources into my reality.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So the way with what I've understood, you with sorry with what you have shared. Just had a moment there. What you
That's it.
shared. So your current vehicles, you feel logically. Again, these are words that we tell ourselves, and every time we say a word is basically a filter. A filter is an energetic wall. So currently, you believe that there is no logical way, but then you also believe illogically you can create money. So that's where you start unpacking, why do I actually need a logical way?
Hmm.
However, because your brain needs to operate on logic, and then we create from the illogical, right? That's where we quantum jump. But we don't have to have resistance. Anytime where we have resistance between logical and illogical, we're not going to be able to jump because we have this resistance. This is logic, this is illogical. So you got to work through that, right? However, your understanding of your vehicles are that A, currently you don't have any, but potentially you want to create some. I thought your property business is also a vehicle, Jenny. Isn't it a vehicle for
Yes,
you?
my real estate business would definitely be a vehicle.
Yeah, you didn't mention, so I was like, you
Oh
still do
yeah,
it? You didn't
I didn't mean
mention.
to not mention it. Yes, the real estate is definitely a vehicle.
Yeah.
And again, you know, with how it's been going, I keep wanting to say I have to figure out, you know, it's like we don't have to fix anything. And I always hear all these words that have come from you in my mind that, you know, in my heart resonate so deeply. I just haven't been able to make that transition into fully embodying those beliefs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. You're on the way. Well, let's celebrate that, right? You're on the way, you're
I
receiving it. Your
am.
subconscious is listening anytime and every time you put new words there, it's listening to it. So we've currently got one vehicle, which is your property agent business, okay, which has a potential of 100K in a day, depending on what sale you have. If you do not have resistance, which I can pick a lot in your thought process and the way you're conveying about your real estate business, there's resistance to it. And our manifestations come through the path of least resistance, right? When we feel harmonized, when we feel like, oh, this is, I don't know if it's going to come through here, this and there, that's all resistance. So we've got to be congruent to the fact that no, it can actually, I can have a sale. If it's not, then currently this is not a vehicle for you that is allowing you 100K, right? So the potential vehicles are that you want to open up a retreat and do different things, open up a center, spiritual retreats. So these are your potential vehicles. Currently they're not in your reality, and in order for you to experience this 100K day, you must have these vehicles in line. So already the real estate is there, but if the resistance is there with this vehicle, that I don't know if this is going to come through this 100K, this 100K is going to come through real estate business. We already have put, on the portals on this gateway of real estate, we put like extra 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 doors saying we're not sure if this is going to work. So we've got to look at this. Now I want you to write this down, or whenever you want to unpack, why do I believe that this cannot happen through this vehicle? What in me feels that I cannot have an 100K day through a big sale, through whatever, through this vehicle or my real estate business? Because once we clear this resistance and we harmonize to the fact that I am the woman who actually has 100K days. You know, I make sales. So we're going to talk a little bit about your self-concepts towards the end once I've asked you a couple of more questions. Your identity has to be on board. And if your identity, your I am narrative, your self-concept is not on board, then no, it's completely possible for me. That means there's some resistance. So we got to unpack what is the resistance? Why can't you have a 100K sale? Currently, as you said, you know, you feel that you can't.
I think that my past experiences continue to haunt me. Real estate has honestly not been, up to this point, an easy profession for me.
Mm-hmm.
Although I love the concept of it, I love the interaction, I love, you know, everything about the action of selling real estate, getting from point A to point Z, because there's a lot of points in between in a real estate transaction, has been difficult. And what I've said to myself over and over again is, I just want transactions that are easy.
Yeah.
I don't want the low dollar amount, low educated clients. I want and desire the ones that are going to go in, and the transactions that are going to go through easily, you know, whether it be from the financing side of things to the, you know, the transactional side of things, the inspection side of things. And, you know, a multitude of my transactions have terminated or been very, very difficult to get to the closing table. And, you know, if I can be completely transparent and, you know, just tell you the experience that I had this week, and maybe you can help me to process this. I'm dealing with a transaction that is so multifaceted and so challenging and in the eyes of the normal world, that the settlement company that I'm working with, who are the ones that are kind of driving this bus in our real estate world, they have told me that this is the worst transaction that they've ever had to deal with. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so I have that, like, you know, in the back of my head.
Mm-hmm.
I had one that was under contract, and my buyer decided to terminate it because of inspection reasons. So that just happened 2 days ago. And then
Mm-hmm.
on Monday, I go into my office thinking that I'm going to have my yearly review, my year-end review with my team leader, because I was on a team. I sit down at the conference table with him, and he says to me, "I'm sorry to let you know, but I'm disbanding our team for personal reasons. So you're no
Mm-hmm.
longer on a team, and now I'm going to be on my own again." And I've been on my own as a real estate agent. But you know, this came as very much of a surprise. I was not expecting this whatsoever. So, you know, I have these difficult transactions. I've got, you know, ones that are being terminated. And then I have, you know, now my team is gone. So now I'm at a point where I am, you know, okay, I need to pivot here. I
Yeah.
need to open myself up to opportunities so that I can, you know, fill the spaces, you know, that, you know, are now empty with something new and something better.
Yeah.
Um, and
All
so now I am trying to, you know, like, for lack of a better word, figure out how to get into those spaces.
Okay. All right. So thanks for sharing this. And this, I'm sorry that you had to deal with this. Here's how we're gonna unpack this. A, they don't sound like ease-filled experiences, all three of them. They sound like they involve a certain level of hardship and is not ease-filled, right? I also heard you saying a couple of minutes back that I am inviting easy experiences, ease-filled experiences, because I refuse to now be having hard. Okay. That was also one of my beliefs that I started working with 3 years back, because I had so much hardship and I was all programmed to hardship. So that was essentially the switching, right? And that starts in your belief system. So here's what I'm going to share with you that will help you navigate this, that everything outside of us is us pushed out. You've heard me say this many times, which means that essentially whatever you're seeing outside, Jenny, in your life is a reflection of whatever you believe inside of you. Okay. This is a hard pill to swallow, but I had to swallow it and I still do sometimes. And this is really what I give to you guys. Because ultimately, if inside within you, any part of you, your belief system, your psyche, your subconscious believes that things have to be hard based on your past experiences, that things are hard, it will continue to be on that operating system that things are hard. And when I believe things are hard, I'm going to consistently in my outer reality, because your reality is mirroring what's inside of you. I am having things hard all the time. So you are reaffirming that I'm going to pivot now because I do not like things hard. But inside the operating systems, like it's always been hard, right? So how do we break through it? But you get why it's happening? Because outside is a reflection of what's inside of me. And inside, if I believe that things are always hard for me, things are always hard for me, they don't come easy to me. No matter what I may be trying to say superficially, my operating system, which is my subconscious, is hardwired to the beliefs things are hard for me. How does this land for you?
It lands perfectly well. I mean, it makes complete sense. And, even as you are explaining it the way you just did, you know, I'm having flashbacks of periods of time in my very younger years, going back to my earliest traumas of understanding why I even became a nurse. Um,
Mm,
and I think that I still have unresolved ties to my upbringing, and that I thought that I've forgiven myself many, many times and released myself because I knew that those actions of the traumas that I experienced didn't come from me. They came from somewhere else. They came from somebody else. But because of what I believed I had to do in essentially saving my mother from my father's alcoholism, I adopted this mentality that I had to save everybody and fix
mm,
everything. So I created this persona that was constantly a problem solver,
mhm.
constantly trying to figure out how I'm going to take care of people and how I'm going to fix things. So even with this one transaction that I was talking about that is so very difficult, I see myself going back to that very same pattern and those behaviors of I'm the one that has to fix this. I'm the one that has to think outside the box because nobody else is coming up with these ideas. Like nobody
Yeah.
else is exploring these solutions. And if I don't do it, nobody's going to do it. And then I'm going to have a whole family that just moved from Georgia with 4 children and an elderly mother who aren't going to have a home.
Yeah. But that's the trauma response, right? You see that, Jenny. So
Yes.
anytime, and I'm so sorry that you've gone through this, and each one of us, like you, has had trauma in such different shapes and form, because we are such unique individuals and your life has been so unique. So when you talk about this, there's this I have to do it is the trauma response. The more independent and hyper independent we become, because that's who I was, we realize that nobody was there to take care of us in the sense that we should have been provided. And that induced this feeling within us that I've got to take care of myself. I've got to show up for myself because nobody else is. I've got to show up for other people, in fact. And then we go into this trauma response, right, of showing up and also needing control of every step of the way. I need to know this before I do this. I need to know this. But if I go back to, you sharing the part of where this identity is coming from, essentially when we're born, and I think talked about this in identity switch, which you've done, and also in hyperspeed healing. But when we're born and up to the age of 7, we're in theta brain waves. That means our brain's like a sponge. So we're not born with any programming. Yes, we have our soul imprints and we have our soul signature and we have a soul blueprint, but our brain, our subconscious, which is our computer system, has no programming. So we're born with infinite potential and possibilities. We're like a sponge. And then for the first 7 years, whatever experiences we through our father, our daddy, our mommy, our grandparents, our caregivers, our school, our society, and anytime there's been wounding, there's been stories, there's been rejection, there's been abuse or whatever, lack and not enoughness stories, they've been registered. And that essentially becomes your operating system. Whatever we've experienced up to the age of 7 to 8 from the time we're born. So, in relation to relationships, programming for relationships, programming for success, programming for how things come to us, how easy it is for us to receive. And unfortunately, even in my childhood, just as you, it was hard. So, my programming became things can't come easy. No, no, no. That's the programming. So, how can it? Now, even though it can be, but because my programming is so, it had to be obviously hard. So I keep manifesting based on my operating system things which are hard, even though I don't want hard, right? So I want to be able to break through it for you, but for anyone, who's probably going to watch it later, but for you as well, understanding why this is happening. Because when we understand, we get to break through it. Because it's simply a programming. So you were not born with it. It was installed for you through life experiences. Now that you're aware it's just a programming, are you willing to uninstall it and install new programming?
Yes,
Right?
that's my goal. That's what I want to do.
And, there's such beauty and grace and space and excitement and enthusiasm and infiniteness in the fact that we get to do this. In the fact that we are not signed up for suffering and trauma as a soul contract for the rest of our 50 years or the whole life. No, no, no. We have free will. We just get to go like, you know what, now that I'm aware, I'm going to change my programming. And there's this opportunity which we were given because your God source is highest creation. You don't need to suffer because of the past life. So can we unpack? Can we go like, okay, well, this has been so far, but this is where I get to create the new story, right? And this is where, when you are doing the identity switch, which means what now, coming back to, I'm going to bring this all together as we go through this so we can come back to the 100K. We can come back to, it's not about the 100K because 100K is just a frequency. Tomorrow you're going to have 200K, then you're going to have 500K, then you're going to have 1 million, then you're going to have 10 millions. It's the same thing. It's about how do you navigate every step of the way. It's about how, when some story from your past comes in, when something from the past comes in and shows you that that's your programming, how do you actually first become aware of your own shadows, of your own programming, of your own traumas, of your own operating system or belief system? And then if we're aware of it, then we look at it eye to eye. And that's when we decide that, hang on, it's not that the client doesn't want to pay me. It's not that the money doesn't exist, because there's an infinite money that exists on the face of the earth, on this planet. It's our experience with money that is our story. Because money exists. It's my story with money based on my experiences and my programming that it gets to be hard, that my experience with money was hard. It's your story with money or 100K or the act of receiving, because the programming has been such. So today, with such deep awareness that you build, and by becoming who you become, and the experiences and the hardships and the work that you've done for yourself, you have this ability to go like, 100K is available, and I am now choosing, because nobody told you you can have it in 12 months. Nobody told you you can have it in 6 months. I asked you, what time frame do you choose for receiving 100K? Your answer was a day. So you chose this for yourself, right? Nobody put this on you. You're like, no, that's available to me. This is who I am. So when you're choosing something new, I want you to look at yourself, get honest with yourself, sit with yourself, like this is your moment of truth. And while you choose this and you give me the answer, I also want you to remember you're infinite, you're a multidimensional being. You are nothing but consciousness, which means that your energy waves, your past does not mean shit about your future. Nothing, unless you want to make meaning of it and you want to carry it with you. With this knowingness, if today I asked you, this 100K is available to you, and you chose this, are you willing to carry your past into your new choice? Or you reckon you want to do it without carrying your past? Which one would you choose?
Without carrying my past.
Without carrying your past, right? So if you made a choice of 100K, now does this matter? 100K days, okay? Which means not once, which means many, many, many times. Maybe once a year, maybe 3 times a year, maybe 12 times a year. That's again something you are going to allow and make your congruent and your subconscious together, congruent to it, your conscious and your subconscious brain, right? Which means your conscious brain tells you and you tell me that I want to make 100K days 5 times a year. Then your subconscious, which is your belief system, has to be on board. It gets to be this way. It gets to be easy, right? Currently, the subconscious is programmed to believe that 100K has come hard to me, has come through a lot of effort, has come through burning, has come through trauma, past story, right? So, where do you today get to disconnect from your past story? This is where you're being called upon to ask yourself, like, how much of your past story are you willing to let go? And the question then you'd ask me is, how do I do it, right? Like, how do you forget the fact that 100K was hard to make? How do you forget the fact that, receiving is hard? How do you forget the fact that your programming is that everything gets to be hard? So before I tell you how you can do that, I want to know from you, based on your desire to have a 100K day, how many times we'll look at it later, but let's do it once first. Your vehicles are your current business, which is your real estate business. So you had some resistance to it. So I have requested you to sit down and unpack what are the resistances, because as I said, our manifestations come through the path of least resistance. Least resistance, Jenny, means alignment. Alignment means everything is harmonized. That means all frequencies are in alignment. Your thoughts are energetic, your feelings are magnetic. So your thoughts should be, yeah, it's pretty easy. I can see this happening. If the thought is that I don't see it happening through the business, the thought has an electric charge that this is not happening, right? So we've got to clear that. We've got to unpack it. Why do I believe that it cannot happen through my business? That means that my vehicle is not capable of getting me 100K. So I've got to clear that. I've got to clear my electromagnetic field, because every thought is bringing that 100K either closer to me or is keeping it away from me. Right?
Mhm.
So the first vehicle that you shared with me through your real estate business, we've got to unpack it. We've got to look at, okay, what in me believes this cannot happen? Because in your own words, you said this is not looking like it's going to happen through that business. So I want you to unpack all of those. Yeah.
Okay.
And the second vehicle that you said, which is not current, which is potential, that you want to create something spiritual, you want to help other people, you want to create spiritual retreats and stuff. Now, do you have any resistance of 100K coming from that business, that vehicle?
I guess as I see it currently, there is resistance because it's not happening right now. It's not in my existence. So I think that I feel like I have to again figure out how I'm going to get there.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of connections do I need to make? And here's the interesting thing. My life has been, for the past, I guess, almost year now since I separated from my ex, I have really opened myself up to just being in connection, being available to connections, and connecting. And I've been told by a multitude of people that I am an incredible connector. I have always had the ability to put people in rooms together or introduce people to one another who
Mm.
somehow have immense commonalities or things that they could benefit from each other from. So I've been told that I'm very much of a connector. I feel like I am starting to do this more for myself, allowing myself to be connected to individuals instead of worrying about or trying to connect other people. So I think that that's one place where, I really see an opportunity, is just allowing myself to be more open to those beneficial connections.
Mm.
And I've seen opportunities come in my view, within the past several months. But for whatever reason, I am not able to make something come of it. Like
Okay.
their connections aren't solidifying enough to see the next step.
Okay, I'm gonna help you, tighten these loose ends, and also, so here's something I can offer you, which can change the way you're looking at this and help you have a new perspective, a new narrative around this thing. When I asked you
Hey,
about the
Prachi, one
second,
second. I'm sorry. Can I stop you for 1 second? I just realized that my battery is getting really low and I need to plug in. So let me
no
grab my
problem,
cord.
no problem.
Yeah, I'm plugged in now. I'm good.
Okay, so the second vehicle, which is going to be the spiritual business, the retreat, the offers, and whatever way you want to create and serve the community and through connection, currently it does not exist. Okay, so that is the biggest resistance, because when I asked you what do you see the resistance in the second business, the fact that it does not exist, that is a resistance, must be cleared, because anything that is going to come in our reality is, again, my reality is basically a mirror of me. So whatever is inside of me is coming out on the reality, right? So when I feel I am loved and I'm celebrated, then I'll see people outside of me telling me, I love you, I appreciate you, I love, even though they're my children, clients, business, um, uh, you know, relationships, relatives. What I feel inside, I'm going to receive outside. When I feel I am abundant, I see outside people giving me things, free stuff. I'm feeling wealthy. I'm able to buy more. I'm experiencing more. Why? Because it's outside is a reflection of inside. So inside, if I feel like I don't have this business yet, the outside is not going to show me that. And if inside I feel currently these circumstances don't line up, outside is going to show me that. So one of the biggest things that I can say to you that has incredibly transformed my life, that has transformed many other lives that I'm aware of, and the people who've applied this thing, worked with me, and what I've learned from my mentors, is the fact that, and it's quite a popular saying between our community for people who actually manifest stuff, your circumstances don't matter. No matter how bad they are, how illogical or logical they are, how hard they are, how difficult they are, whatever word resonates, whatever's happening in your reality, the circumstances don't matter. And I really want you to get this from a place of, like, if for a second I forgot everything else and I only took this on board, whatever you're experiencing currently outside on the film of your reality is a byproduct of the consciousness, thoughts, feelings, actions you've taken so far. Right now, whatever you're seeing is a byproduct, which means so far whatever you believed, whatever your programming has been, that things are hard for me, they don't work out, or doesn't come with ease. What you're seeing right now is a end product, a byproduct of whatever you have believed so far, the consciousness you've been in. Because you're now aware of it, you're changing your consciousness, the mirror will show you something else. So you got to defocus on what currently looks like. Okay, you got to defocus on what your reality is showing, which you're very aware of. You've done this work, and so you're being pulled, you're being called upon to even defocus more. Okay, which also means that if I currently don't have a business today, the second vehicle, okay, of 400K, I, if internally believe the circumstances are not aligning right now, or there are loose ends, or I don't actually know how to create this, my reality will show me that I don't have a business. So inside my self concept, inside, first I have to do inner work before it starts showing on the outer wall, on the outer reality. You know that, right? So inside of me, what can I create? Inside of me, I am, my self concept. So now we go into the stage of self concept. You're aware of it. Your concept of self is what is coming on the mirror, right? What you're seeing in your outer reality, what your life is a byproduct of what your self concept is. My concept of myself. Even Jenny, you have my book. There's on the page. Sorry, I'm going to look at. Okay, so read chapter number. Go to page 78. Self concept and how it can affect your manifestations. I talked a lot more about this. So when you have free time, you can look at it. Page 78. So my concept of self is I am wanting to create a business. My reality outside will be that I'm a woman who's trying, I'm gathering stuff, but somehow I don't have a business. But if my self concept is I'm a successful entrepreneur and I just magnetize stuff, I magnetize opportunities, I magnetize miracles, I actually out of nowhere, I don't even know how this happened, but I ended up creating a whole spiritual retreat, a whole spiritual business in unbelievable amounts of time. Maybe you can say 3 months, 6 months, 1 month, whatever you are willing to get yourself congruent to, because I don't know what works for you, right? However, what we're trying to do is spin the story inside. The story is not going to spin outside. The narrative has to first be spun inside of us. We have to switch the script inside before the outer reality is going to reflect that, right? So self concept is such a huge piece of us manifesting this 100K, us going onto the frequency, because this 100K is just a frequency field. And the frequency of this 100K and the frequency of you and your self concept have to be harmonious, have to be like all one and marinated, and there has to be no resistance of I don't know if this is possible, or that part is not feeling aligned, or that is not squeaky clean. Everything has to feel good. So if from your point of view, if you look within inside today and you know that what's here right now is being reflected on the wall, you got to ask yourself, what do I want to see on the screen of my reality? Right? Ask yourself, number one, what do I want to see? Basis what you've told me, you want to see what, Jenny? You want to see 100K? Fill it up. What do you want to see on the screen of your reality, Jenny?
I want to see abundance of everything. I want to see the freedom of having this 100K.
Okay, be a little precise. I'll tell you what, abundance is a very vague word, okay? That's why people don't get, because abundance is a feeling. I get it. We can be abundant, but if you're creating it, we don't have to micromanage our desires because God's given it to us. But what does it exactly look like? Because when you know exactly what it looks like, your subconscious can start seeing images of it. Abundance is just, it's not an image unless you actually fully tap into it, right?
Right.
Mm.
So I want to see the building. And I actually have a building that I am planning to go visit the owner of, who is selling this building. I've been put in connection with this gentleman. So I am seeing myself going to this building and just envisioning my retreat there. I am seeing the $100,000 in my bank account. When I pull up my bank statement on my computer, I see 100,000 plus
Yeah.
in that ledger.
Yeah.
I see the people that are going to help me to operate this retreat there, in their full capacity, being able to serve the clients the way I envision, the program going. I
Mm,
envision smiles and happy hearts and people who come together that are just loving their lives. I see those people in front of me.
yeah. Yeah. So that is the outer reality, which I'm very excited about. And I can feel the feeling of it because your heart is so lit up. Like I can feel it. It's so exciting. It's so joyful, right? And this is not just for you. Like this got such a bigger purpose and your why and like how it's your soul's mission and your soul's work. I get that and I can feel it. So if that is what you want to see on your outer reality, your work now, the breakthrough now is to sit down and write down everything, what inside of me has to completely be, I have to create my I ams. So if your outer reality is I received this 100K, people are paying, say maybe they're making 5,000, break it down even more. What does your brain believe or what does it look like? Maybe they're paying 5,000, there are 20 transactions, 100 transactions of this. What does it look like? What do the connections look like? All of those things. Then your self concept have to be, I'm the woman who receives 5K clients or who serves 5K clients. I am the woman who easily actually creates projects and connections and retreats. So your self concepts are aligned to the vision that I'm seeing, like you're seeing on the outer reality. So that is the work where your self concepts are basically going to be taken by on board by your subconscious. This is how you're going to reprogram yourself, right? I've spoken about reprogramming many times in my group coaching as well. You've been a part of it. So in order for you to move away from the old operating system of it, it's hard for me. I have to do it all by myself. New program is going to be installed, new operating system, which means what? It always got easy for me. It has always been easy. It was that easy to create a retreat center. So what would your self concept be if in your higher timeline, which you're walking into, that version of you finds that everything comes to her so easily, is magnetized to her? What's her self concept?
So you're asking me that question?
You can write it down. If you want to answer, that's fine. It's more for you to sit down and ask yourself that, right? Like,
Oh,
because
okay. Yeah.
now you got to create, and this is the biggest thing that I think I taught in Identity Switch. When you're creating, we often create from the past version of who we've been, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why all those feelings came up for you as you were navigating this creation process through the old identity, and everything came up. And because you're so conscious and awake, you could see it, right? It coming up. But often we create a new timeline, a new reality from the past identity. And we go like, this is what I want, but this is who I have been, and these are what my struggles have been, and this is what my challenges have been. But you see those that has the parts of you that you've discovered about yourself, they're all being either a trauma response or those are the things you had to become in order for you to be here. Now we get to release the old identity and we get to walk into the new timeline by creating new versions of us, which means that you got to create new self concepts. And the biggest thing that I've seen working with thousands of people and in my own experience, that we sit for some sort of permission slip that, can I do this? Can I suddenly create a self concept from being a woman who I always find things came to me hard? Suddenly, can I become the woman who can have a self concept that I actually get things easily? We wait for some external permission slip. You don't have to. You get to switch it like this today. If you give yourself the permission, are you willing to give yourself the permission to just go and create new self concepts in this moment?
Yeah, I think it's a lot about giving yourself permission. As I reflect back on, these past couple of months and where I came from to where I am today, I've already seen evidence of multiple identity switches. I came from this broken, very stressed out person who had low self-value and self-worth to somebody that knows that I'm worthy of everything, that I should be feeling whole, but there's still that little resistance there that's not allowing me to feel that wholeness,
Yeah.
to its entirety.
And I find such resonance in what you're saying because, my journey's been very similar, yet we have our own journeys, and I get it. Like when you spoke in identity switch as well, I got goosebumps. But here's what it is, Jenny. All the time when we're trying to create new identities, which basically means what? New identities, nothing. It's just that we're changing our self concepts, we're changing our I am inside, and the outer reality is basically reflecting what we're seeing inside. And at some point, we just go like, I no longer want to be this person. I no longer want to have hardship. I no longer want to have scarcity. I no longer want to have lack. I no longer want to feel rejected. So that's an identity switch where we just give ourselves the permission. We go like, hang on, I just don't want to do it anymore. And then we create new self concepts and we internalize it. We anchor in the new identity by every day affirming, I'm the woman who gets it easily. I'm the woman who magnetizes. I am blessed. I am in gratitude. I have a great life, like whatever your new concepts are, that I'm seen, I'm celebrated, it gets to be easy. I get to have 100K days, whatever your self concepts are, they become your truth. While you're creating that new version and new identity, your old identity is going to try to grasp on. It has nothing else, right? It has been a part of you, you see. And then we spoke about this in identity switch that we can't just cut it off. It's been a part of you, whether it was a trauma response, whether it was a positive response, whether it was a creation of some sort of aspect of you. It has served you, it has served us becoming who we've become. So we can't just cut cords. We can thank it and we can say, hey, listen, thank you for bringing me so far forward here. But you are just a consciousness. You've served me, and I'm willing to release you. And I'm going on to a different consciousness and send it with love. We often struggle because we're trying to become this new version, we're trying to become this new consciousness, and we just don't know. And so we start shaming and blaming who we've been. And right, so you can go back to identity switch, watch it again, because in module 1 I talk about it exactly this thing, how to give thanks to it, how to positively connect chords with it, disconnect chords with it, right? So it is going to come up, but how you navigate disconnection with your past version, how you give thanks to it, how you celebrate it, how you actually flip the script, how you flip the narrative on who you've been whilst you are walking into who you're becoming is ultimately up to you. And how you do it, you don't need anyone's permission. There is no set framework for it. You get to do it in your style because your spirit has your own core unique frequency. It's about you really coming into your power now. It's really you coming into that, hang on, no, it has been this way. I'm aware of this. This is what I'm creating now. This is who I am. And I get to just disconnect with whatever I want to. I want to get to connect with whatever I want to. I get to call in whatever I want to. I get to see on the screen what I want to. So what do I want to do internally? Now, this is you who's going to sit in your sovereignty, in your creative power, in your multidimensionalness, in your infiniteness. This is where you get to actually play. It's time now. So, how are we playing with this 100K now? After everything we've discussed, is completely in your own hands now, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to call in some beautiful source light as we're talking. Big clouds of source light, big rain of white light. So
I have to say, when you did that, I can literally feel a bolt of energy coming through the screen. Like honestly, there is a magical connection.
I can feel it all through our shoulders. I just felt like we wanted it, and I can truly feel us being washed over with that. So I want to do a little bit of recap, and I can feel there's a lot of emotions coming through. I can feel your throat is pretty heavy, and I can there's a lot of feelings there and emotions that have come up, and it's time. Take a few breaths and release it. It's really time for you to let go of all aspects of you that have really beautifully served you so far. And it's just consciousness. It's just consciousness which helped you experience all these timelines, and you're ready to go. Let go of it. You are giving yourself the permission. You are allowing yourself. You know that you are completely connected to this universe. You are infinite consciousness. That means you get to play with infinite kinds of consciousnesses. You get to play with any timeline. And you're giving yourself permission to let go of what you have been playing with, and you're calling in a new consciousness. And the more you give yourself permission that it gets to be this easy, it gets to be this easy, it gets to be this easy, that's how easy it gets to be, Jenny. Take a deep, big breath in and a big sigh out. And as you sit in the energy of this and you process this, I want to bring us to a recap so that you leave this session, this breakthrough session of your 100K manifesting in your reality as you believed that you get to have 100K in a day. That is your current truth, and it gets to be, and it gets to evolve and expand only up and up, forward and forward. Okay, you can also transcend it now, later, whenever you feel ready. It can be 100K hour. There is a version of you who's also playing with that, right? Currently, we're playing with 100K day. You allowed yourself the truth of the time frame of one day, 100K in 24 hours, 100K in one day. You created vehicles of it. You created vehicles of it, such as your your real estate business. And you have now confirmed that you're going to sit down and you're going to clear all possible resistance of why it can't happen in that. Because the moment you clear the resistance and there's alignment, what is going to happen? Manifestation.
Yay,
And
manifestation.
yes, of course. And you're going to create other vehicles of your spiritual retreat business, and you're going to sit down and you're going to create, if you know that this is what you want, you're going to create all internal self concepts that are basically going to project on the outer wall of your reality, this business, this manifestation, this 100K. What I didn't, sorry, and the last thing was, again, you're going to sit down, intentionally create all self concepts of a woman who has 100K days. Every word you speak to yourself from now on, your self talk must portray, because your inside is your outside. Your reality is you pushed out, right? Always remember that. So you're going to obviously have self concepts as, I am always having 100K days. I'm the woman who has 100K days. I cannot believe how fast it happened. You can also use the observer effect, which you have the masterclass. I've taught that. There are many ways you can play with this. The last thing that I wanted to touch upon, which we haven't, is the third vehicle, which is illogical, which means that, like you spoke about the 6,000, like how many people speak about that in my money program, right? Where it gets to come from anywhere. So can you play with that as well? That I don't even know how this 100K came, or 20K or 10K, or whatever you want to give yourself permission to receive. Magical. infinite ways of it coming. Magical money. Illogical money is magical money, right? So can we allow that in our field as well for our 100K?
Yes, ma'am.
How are you feeling? How do you want to bring this together as we wrap this up? What feels most true to you, most aligned to you to bring yourself to close this?
I just feel like as you've talked me through this in this past hour, there definitely is a sense of lightness that I feel at this point. I came into it with anticipation and just, not being nervous, anxious, but anxious to hear what you have to say. And the self concepts, I guess I've heard you say this over and over again and talked about it, but as far as really solidifying it and feeling that inside so that I can see it outside, I really truly needed that reminder. I feel like sometimes, I've sunk myself into a lot of um, learning, seeking information, that there are moments when I feel overwhelmed and I don't know, which to use, which is going to benefit me the most. Um, and I think just simplifying it and focusing on
Hmm.
the aspect of self concepts is what I'm really going to take away from this.
Yeah. Yeah, the self concepts has been amazingly life changing. And yes, that's true. Like sometimes we can be overwhelmed with information. I kept it simple. I kept it basically self concepts, when I was creating my first 100K, which I did in the first 12 months, and then creating whether it was becoming an author, whether it was manifesting clients, whether it was healing myself, just choosing that identity and creating those concepts because ultimately the mirror is going to reflect that back and it is going to happen, right? There's one thing I wanted to briefly touch upon as we're closing this call. You expressing through what you were sharing, about your struggles. You see that part of the identity where you said, I've been doing the work, but somehow I don't see this happening, or this is still not happened for me, or I struggle with it. This is again a self concept, right? If you see, so that past identity of you believed her self concept was, and how she saw her reality, the observer effect, how I observe is what I see on the mirror, on the film. So if that part of your self concepts, like, I do everything, but I still don't see it coming together because my self concept's such, the movie's going to be like it's not coming together. But if you create your self concepts from an ascended version of you, Jenny, who's already had the 100K day, who's had the retreat, who's had the connections, who served the world, who's created from her heart space, from her guidance, from her intuitive abilities, and all the gifts that you've been gifted, that version of her, of you, would she say that I don't see it coming together, or she says something different?
She's saying, it's there. I have it. It's done.
It's done. And it always gets to be so easy. It comes in magical ways to me. It comes in ways that are so beautiful. It comes in ways that I can't even expect. And I get downloads and I'm intuitively gifted. And it somehow, I don't know how, but it always comes together for me. It is magical. It is such a God's gift. It's amazing how it comes together for me. Even when I believe it's going to be hard, it just comes together for me. That's her self concept. So if the movie's got to run differently, we've got to direct it differently, right?
Yeah, I love that. It always comes together for me. Yes. Yeah, that's really good.
It has been my pleasure to serve you, to have this breakthrough call. And I hope that you continue to do this work and, see what comes up for you and what you clear and what you let go of. And if there's one thing that I could say in the end would be to remind you that don't wait for anyone's permission slip. You are the creator of your reality. You are the extension of God's source universe. You are in this reality for a stipulated period of time. Don't wait for any permission slips. Give yourself the permission today, right now. Right now is the time, in this moment. The word is I allow. I allow because I get to allow myself.
Wow.
I love you.
Love you too. Thank you for everything. I'm so happy to know you and thankful that you're in my world.
Me too. Me too. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. And I continue to see all your magical unfoldings, and everything beautiful that you've ever shared with me. And it gets to be more and more and more.
Amen.
All right. Bye, Jenny.